Please remember to leave a like, a comment, share the video about, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Thank you. Hello everyone, welcome back to Omegon 2. Today we're going to be looking at a video posted by the Libs of TikTok. Whether you like them or not, I don't really care. The video subject matter is what I'm more interested in, pertaining to racism and dog training. We've done a lot of discussions of late with Gen X, discussions concerning different genders, fat acceptance, and racism. As we strive for 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, it's always nice to add a little diversity, equity and inclusion into our content. And by that I mean literally crap on anyone that I could be bothered to crap on, because they deserve it, and they know it. I wish though, and it's a mistake that the Libs of TikTok account has made, they had perhaps included the @ for the user, because I always like to see the consequence. There was a creator who I was going to do a video on actually, but I couldn't find them because they had deleted their TikTok after Libs of TikTok had actually tweeted out one of their videos. I found the video elsewhere, but then found Libs of TikTok had tweeted it as well. The user has a TikTok and Facebook and all that, Instagram, or had, but basically went scorched earth after being given that attention, which I find amusing. It speaks volumes about that level of conviction. Let's dive into the dog training and racism though, shall we? And see what we could maybe agree with, if anything at all.
White people are truly so dense.
I have a long-held belief that if you start a video like this, immediately calling out one entire demographic racially, you yourself are an ignorant person, because you believe that speaks for all types of people, and therefore that makes all of that type of person, because of that one attribute, to be haram, 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 haram. When in reality, you'll find there are many different cultures that make up the fabric of that person, and peoples of differing areas. This is vitally important. It's why when I see bait like this, I want to see the @ because I think you deserve the consequence, because you're being racist. Straight up, you are that. Insert the obligatory but there's the other definition, the systems of power nonsense. White people make up 9% of this world's population and apparently 100% of your problems. Get a grip on things, please. They're being bred out of existence, give it 50 years, they'll be fine. It'll all be over, don't worry. Or just vote for me this year and I'll end it all sooner.
So there's this woman that had a cool dog, and my dog was cool with her dog. So they played a little bit, and then her friend pulls up, and we start talking about my dog. She's a German Shepherd, Belgian Malinois, and she's like, oh yeah, all the dogs that protect the president are Malinois. And then I start talking about how trainers end up being super racist, and they are racist, and then it perpetuates a stereotype of my dog that she doesn't with black and brown people, which is the opposite. I literally told them, I trained her to not like white people.
So you're having a lovely conversation about your dog breed across and other dogs, and the discussion about protecting certain high political figures. I personally believe all presidents should be protected by King Charles Spaniels or Bulldogs, because as is well established, they're renowned for high energy. And then you, after being told they're usually trained to go after people who are non-white, I assume crime stats play a part in areas where they are used. I'm going to assume because I can't be certain, this conversation is quite vague. You then explicitly state yours is trained solely to dislike people that are white. Anybody that trains their dog to dislike another person because of the colour of their skin is a racist human being. I will say that for all peoples. I don't care about the crime statistics either, by the way, in this. You are using an attribute, one that cannot be changed without skin bleach or vitiligo, and you are deciding that the white part is genuinely bad. It should be outlawed, and the dog should hate because of that. It speaks volumes about what's going on in your brain, a complete lack of critical thought, that you would be so naive, dense and narrow-minded. Although the naive and dense part does typically fall under the term narrow-minded.
Which the woman with the dogs laughed at because it's hilarious. But anyways,
if true, it's not hilarious in the slightest. But it's interesting that you are able to get away with making those kind of jokes at the expense of somebody who is white. That's interesting. That speaks volumes about what is permitted to be normalized in the scope of criticizing somebody based on an unchangeable attribute, shading somebody because of the shade of their skin or lack thereof. If you normalize that kind of behavior, then you are basically the very thing you would claim to stand up against. Although in this instance, I'd be inclined to believe, after finding out that these dogs were trained to go after African Americans and other people who are not white, you did it solely to go for white people as a contrarian stance. You look the type. There is a very clear type.
Surprised though, because she was also white.
Yes, it turns out a lot of white people have to learn to take this one on the chin. From what I've observed, they have no choice in the matter. Now imagine if the roles were reversed and she had trained her dog to go after somebody that matched your skin colour. Could you say you'd laugh it off? We both know the answer is no. I just want to hear you say it.
But I was like, yeah, you know, the trainers are like a little bit, like, the trainers are racist. And she was like, towards other dogs?
I don't suppose you have any citations in your short video to confirm this now, do you? Otherwise, it is nothing more than you in public, apparently, allegedly, although sat in your car like a typical Storytime TikToker, asserting information which we, the court of public opinion, can rightfully denounce, disregard, and somewhat debunk, because without you providing evidence, it can neither be true or untrue. I'm okay with this, because the onus is on you, the person who made the assertion, to prove it. I am renowned for my laziness, and I'm not going to waste your time, when I'd rather you listen to my voice, going to find the information to prove or debunk it. So do tell me, how are the particular breeds you were discussing raised to be racist because of the criminals, the perps they go after, to dislike because of the hue? Please tell me.
I was like, no, against like black and brown people. Like they train dogs to bite them and hold on to them and latch onto them.
Are you sure that they are told to do this exclusively to people based on race? Or are they told to do this to people that they have identified as a suspect or a criminal? Which, by the way, may be somewhat coincidental that when you look at certain countries in the world where there are rather large, let's say, demographics, yes, variety, well, cultural melting pot, you find that certainly in, like, for example, the United States, the Republic, the Third World Republic, you find that a lot of the crimes committed proportionately, are not on people's side. So, are they being trained to, or are they being identified? Are you asserting, or are you stating as fact? Now, I know in your head you'll say you're asserting as fact, Budget Ripley, but you'll often find this isn't the case without anything to confirm it, cement it, prove it. Right? Arbiter of truth, tell me more. That kind of thing. At this point, because you're asserting, the only thing I can say with certainty is you are clearly a contrarian hipster. Budget Ripley, you got a weird crease in your neck, you wear a lanyard to make yourself look important, you wear earphones when you don't need to while talking to your phone, you sat in a car like every TikTok Storytime teller, which tells me you think you're more important than you are, and no doubt consider yourself an activist of some kind. I'd also bet you don't have a sodding job either, and if you do, it's a really bad one, like professional activist.
Which is a huge problem.
So I took the liberty of doing some digging, and I'll link them down below, because yes, okay, I actually have to do something. I found one obscure paper concerning this. I found a Quora article on this as well, where it talks about how dogs are trained with commands and handlers and how that has changed over time. The article I stated is called The Racialized Violence of Police Canine Force, and you have an article called Sniffing the Past, published in 2021. Now, of course, the paper itself is a PDF and would take far too long to go to, but it does have keywords including the Fourth Amendment, which concerns stop searches and government being too much involved in your life. Yes, I know, paraphrase, don't be a pedantic prick or I'm gonna ban you, you know I will. The overwhelming consensus in both the Storytime article of history and that paper is the assertion that innocent, those who are African American, are simply innocent. That is what they are going on, and they're also speaking about the 13th and 14th Amendments as well, because they need to eliminate police canine violence. In America, this is not something that can simply be done across the board in all states. It really can't. And you cannot assert this on a national level when each state is so different. You really can't. You can try as hard as you like, but this third world republic is not as easy to police, it is not easy to regulate, and it is not as easy to impact change. Additionally, the paper I am citing down below even acknowledges there aren't many scholars that have explored the legitimacy of canine force doctrine or its racially disparate effects. Somebody had to go look to find a problem to come up with this pile of crap. Go figure, it came from the University of South Carolina School of Law.
She's like, yeah, like I've never heard that before. And I was like, well, yeah, you're white. So you're probably also a racist.
I'd go so far as to say anyone that says that is themselves racist, dumb, moronic, licking the window type, because you have to be so clearly intellectually stunted. If you seek to solve problems by simply hocking blame onto another person, you are not solving the problem, you're passing the buck. If you believe white people are the core of the problem, find a solution. Oh wait, one exists, but you don't like it because the solution doesn't click your finger and give you reparations of some kind. It doesn't give you the validation so you can continue to moan. To moan is English. You are not allowed to culturally appropriate that. You are a feckless worm. And I will defend anyone that is a victim of racism. I really will. Including those pesky, dreaded white people that you clearly hate so much. But I put money on it you having a white partner, because that's also a bit of a trend as well.
But yeah, I don't know what it is with these people. Like, just no perception. They're just like, oh, racism doesn't exist. Shut up. It's absurd. I don't understand it.
I could have just led with the last part of you saying I don't understand. No one thinks racism doesn't exist, by the way. Most people believe it is not the same kind as it was 50, 60 years ago. Think of it like waves of feminism, right? The version of feminism that now exists no longer pushes for the equality of the sexes. It pushes for equity. It is hardly the same thing. At best, equity is the, well, more modern interpretation for affirmative action, but with a cuter word. In this, you are the problem, and your stupidity is probably why you weren't linked. But I bet you found out quick enough when people bothered to go and look, because it would not have been hard to give you stick for comments like this. Grow up and go be an adult for a change. If by chance your parents are proud of the person you are, I think then we as a community online will know where the problem started. But don't worry, we don't blame them for you being a terrible adult. No, we blame you because the buck stops at you. If you want to lead to change where racism is not a problem, you have to lead by example. That is why many are ignorant to it, because they are trying to be better than those that came before. You, though, appear to be racing to the bottom to go back to the start.